So many inputs, so many dials. Hey, Pete here for Studio Live today, and in this video, I'm talking all about audio interfaces. In fact, I'm going to take you through the history of my entire collection of audio interfaces. But this isn't just a self-indulgent thing for me. Along the way, I'll be telling you why I purchased each of these, what is the difference between the different types of audio interfaces, and how you can pick the right interface to get your guitars, vocals, and other audio devices into your PC, your Mac, your iOS device. Let's go. Okay, so we better start with the basics. What is an audio interface? Well, an audio interface simply means something that can help you plug an analog source into a digital environment. So you've got your digital audio workstation, DAW, whether it's on your PC or a Mac, or whether it's on your iPhone or your iPad or your Android device, running any sort of software you like, you will need some sort of digital to analog audio or analog to digital audio conversion going on, because what you can't do is just grab your guitar lead, grab your microphone cable, plug directly into your device and start recording. You need a decent quality interface in order to do that. And when I say you can't, of course you can. And what you can do is just grab a guitar cable, put an adapter on the end, plug it into the microphone input of your device or of your computer. You're not going to get monitoring. We'll talk about what that means in a minute. You're not going to get a very good quality sound. But that doesn't mean you have to spend thousands or even hundreds of dollars to get a decent recording quality. I'm going to show you some devices here that are very affordable, very good quality, and are going to help you get a really good sound. So let's jump in without any further ado and start looking at all of these audio interfaces here. Now, the majority of the interfaces that I have here are USB. Apart from this one here, which I'll show you as we go through, most of them use a USB interface, and that's a pretty standard interface. Whether you're on a mobile device or on your computer, that's a pretty standard way to connect. Firewire is a little bit less common these days. A lot of the high-end stuff that people use in Pro Tools rigs on their Macs and the like used Firewire and still uses Firewire, but USB is becoming more common, especially for home recording, and that's what my channel's focused on, and that's what I'm all about. So we're going to be looking at USB interfaces with a little bit of a 3.5mm jack plug in here that we'll go into as well. So let's start at the start. So this one here you might find very interesting. You've probably not seen this one before. This is a DigiTech audio interface, and this is the first digital audio interface that I've ever owned. You can see here it's not the greatest quality device here, but for the time when I bought this, it was nowhere near top of the line. It was actually pretty cheap at the time. This cost about $60, I think, back in the day, and this is a very simple analog to digital converter, but I was in love with it at the time because what it had here is on the front here, we had a guitar input, we had line input, so I could use RCA to plug in, at the time, probably an MP3 player to record into my computer that way, and a line out, so we could send the signal out as well. On the back here, we have a 1/8 inch 3.5mm jack for a microphone in and headphone out, including a headphone volume level there, so that was pretty special. And we've got a microphone in on the back here, so this thing actually had its own mic preamp, which at the time was pretty special. So I could plug not only my guitar in, but also a microphone in and record those, and we had the separate volume adjustments on the front here. Now this thing feels about as cheap as it looks, and it performs very averagely. That's not a word, but that's what I'm going to say it is. So I used this with a program called Cakewalk Music Creator about 10 years ago when I first got back into recording. In the early days, I recorded on 4-track tape recorders and booked out studio time when I could afford it and when I could be bothered. But my first sort of foray back into home recording was using this device. So what are the drawbacks of this? As I said, the quality was poor. It plugs in just via a USB interface there. It's only 16-bit audio, which at the time was okay, but these days anything that doesn't do at least 24-bit audio is not going to be very good, and it was only 44.1 kilohertz sound as well. So it was CD quality, which sounds better than it is these days. Anyway, it's a decent interface. You can't even really buy these anymore. You could probably pick one up secondhand on eBay for $10 if someone wanted to get rid of one, but I just wanted to show you where we've come from in terms of USB interfaces, and that's what this baby is right here. So let's move on now. This one's on top, but that's actually the next one. The next device I have here, and this is a device that I still use today, in fact. This is the Tascam US125M. So this is a USB mixing audio interface, and look at all that on the back there. Look at all those beautiful ways to plug things in. We've got, again, an XLR and an instrument input here. We've got, sorry, that's a microphone. So you can use a microphone either via XLR or 1/4 inch jack. We've got a 1/4 inch line in. We've got the same line in and line out here using RCA as we had on the other device. And then on the front here, we've got all of these abilities to mix. And the reason I say I still use this is that I use this for my PA announcing. I'm the PA announcer for the local ice hockey teams, and I actually still use this device to feed my iPad audio and my PC audio through into the PA system, because it's just a very simple device. It's solid as a rock, and it's actually really good quality. So this still gets quite a lot of use. It's got a headphone jack and a microphone in there for a headset at the front. It's got its own limiter built in, which is very handy. So if you're not familiar with the limiter, that will basically ensure that you're not going to overload the signal, and it's going to pop up a little light here, and it has a built-in limiting device here on the hardware side. So you can't, if you go too hard, it's not going to distort. It's going to actually limit before it hits there. So that's very cool. The drawbacks of this one, I wouldn't recommend to buy this now as your primary interface. It is only 16-bit audio, similar to the other one, so you're not getting that full 24-bit audio resolution which you would want these days. But if you're in the market and you wanted something that's used more for a mixing device for live performing, then you can use this one. Still okay for recording your recording to your PC. Not compatible with iOS, and probably should have said that about the first one as well. Neither of these are compatible with iOS because they do run proprietary drivers. You can tweak it a little bit and get there sort of somehow, but they're not designed for iOS. I'll put it that way. So if you're this type that wants to hack your way around and you want to try and work out some way to connect them, you can do that, but I don't recommend it. But great if you just want a simple device for your PC or your Mac. Let us move on here, and dropping down on the mountain here, we'll move to this one here, and I've done a full review of this in the past. This is the Tascam iXzen, the mic and guitar interface, and this is one that I recommend for people that are just getting into recording on, especially on mobile devices. And this is specifically for mobile devices. You can see there it's got a 3.5mm jack there. That's the mic and the headphone. So this plugs in, and your device, your iOS device, will basically think that this is like a headset. So it's got the microphone and it's got the headphone. And it does have its own headphone jack in the back here, so you can monitor the audio you're recording. So how do you use this device? Well, you plug into the front here. It's got a combo jack. So a combo jack just simply means that you can plug a TRS, a 1/4 inch cable, guitar instrument cable directly in there, or you can plug in an XLR cable, and then you've got a selector here where you can select the mode between guitar, microphone, and off. And when we select microphone mode, you'll see that the little microphone light comes on here. That's because this one actually runs on 2 AA batteries, which is super handy. It means that you can throw this in your kit bag and go anywhere with it, because you're not going to be running around trying to find a power supply if you just want a really cheap option and a convenient option. So on the front here, we've just got that selector. Phantom power is on and off. So that for something like this, and this costs about $50. I'll put links to all of these devices that are still for sale down below, but I think it's about $50 that you pay for this, and it's got phantom power, which means that you can use it with a condenser microphone. Won't go into a heap of detail except to say that there's 2 main types of microphones you're going to come across. There's a dynamic microphone, which is sort of like your live microphone. If you've heard of the Shure SM57 and SM58, they are your dynamic microphone. They don't require any power to operate. Then there's condenser microphones, like the large diaphragm condensers that I use, that I'm using to record my voice right now, and that I use to record acoustic guitars and my vocals for my songs, which you would have seen in other videos if you've watched them. So this one can accept either, and it has phantom power powered by those 2 AA batteries, which is really cool. You've got your input gain here independent, so you can actually set that, which means that if you've got a loud source, depending on what type of guitar you're plugging in here or what type of microphone, you can dial in the gain there. It's a very sort of cheap volume knob there. It's not a nice weighted knob, but it does the trick there. So this is, I mentioned that I recommend this because it uses the 3.5mm jack, which means you can use it with any iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, doesn't matter how old or new it is, whether it's Lightning or 30-pin adapter, it's compatible with them all. Therefore, it's an analog source. It's not going to be the best quality when you compare it to USB devices, but it's at $50, and to have all of those features and the ability to just plug and play and go, I still think it's a pretty good deal and a pretty good device. So I actually recommend this over some of the iRig devices. You might be looking here and realizing that I don't have any iRig devices. And for someone that uses GarageBand a lot and uses mobile devices, that might seem strange. And I'll tell you why when we get to the next couple of devices that I don't have that. But an iRig, some of the more high-end ones do have microphone and guitar inputs, but you're paying a couple of $100s for those, and they're the ones using the Lightning adapter. You can get the ones that are like this, that are the analog, the old style, for a lot cheaper, especially the less than genuine ones, and I'll talk about that right at the end as well, so stay tuned for that. But for something that's just going to accept microphone and guitar, or any instrument source, any audio source, this really can't be beat. So recommend that one. I'll put that over to the side and we'll move on to our next interface here. Okay, we're getting into the business end of our interfaces here. My Focusrite Scarlett II, my first, what I'd call serious interface. This one has got dust on it because it doesn't get used anymore. This used to be my primary PC interface, whereas now, we'll get to it, but I'm rocking the Steinberg UR44 now for all of my PC recording. But this one was just a solid performer, and I still, if you're recording just on a Mac or a PC, I highly recommend this one. Focusrite Scarlett II. You've got two inputs here, two really high quality preamps, and again we've got the combo jacks there. Now this is some nice dials. Like if you like yourself some rubberized weighted knobs, and hey, if you think I'm a bit crazy, yeah, if you're an audio guy, you know what I'm talking about, or if you're an audio guy or girl, but I get a bit excited about some high quality dials. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that because it's not relevant. So we've got two selections for each input here. We've got line input or instrument. So if we can use the line input if we've got a line source. So if we're plugging, say, a stereo source in here directly from another amplifier or from something else that we want to put in there, another PA system, we can use that online. And then if we flick it over to instrument, if we're plugging guitars in, we can do that, as well as our XLR inputs as well. We do have phantom power that we have on here as well, which is this little button here, which is 48 volts of power. Phantom power is 48 volts and it's powered by USB. Direct monitor. So that means that we can actually monitor directly through the output, through the headphone output here, or we can turn that off if we want to use our software only to monitor. And that just means that if you're playing back, or if you're recording at the time and you've sort of got some effects in your software, then you're recording through those effects if you have the monitor off. If your direct monitor is on, it means you're just recording that direct signal, and that helps with latency. Latency, if you're not aware, is when you're using a device like this, and I probably should have talked about that with the other devices, I'll talk about it now. When you're using a device like this, you will suffer from what is called lag or latency when you're recording, which means that when you, say, playing a guitar and you play a note, you play the note and you hear the sound a few milliseconds usually afterwards. And it might not sound like much, but if you're playing something that has to be right on the beat, then you need a device that has low latency, or a device like this that you can do direct monitoring, because then you're hearing the signal that's actually being sent in there, as opposed to it being processed by the software and then sending it back out for you to listen to afterwards. So there's a trade-off there, and it's a topic for another day where we'll go into more detail, but just keep in mind that latency is an issue. If you've got something like this with direct monitor, it's going to be a lot better. So in terms of the latency, the very first one, a couple I showed you there, are probably much higher latency. When you get down to something like the Focusrite, you're a lot lower latency, so you're not going to notice that effect as much because you've got some good quality audio drivers that come with these. The trade-off of the fact that you have good quality audio drivers is that it's not compatible with iOS at all. So because you need to run, especially on a PC, it needs its own proprietary drivers. On a Mac, I believe it's actually plug and play, so you can just plug it in and go. But on iOS, because it doesn't use that standard USB interface, then it's not going to actually work. And yes, I have tried it. Once again, there's probably a hacking community out there that's worked out a way to do it, but I'm not interested in doing that. The monitor button here, which is, again, really nice and weighted, which is the monitor out, which will show you what goes out in a minute. And then finally, we've got our headphone and headphone jack and headphone monitor button at the back. Around the back, it's very sort of simplistic, minimalistic. We've just got a USB interface here and our line output. So this uses 1/4 inch line outputs, which are a balanced output. And again, I'm not going to go into a heap of detail about balanced versus unbalanced, but when we looked at the Tascam, this was using RCA outputs, which are unbalanced. This one has balanced outputs, which, for the sake of this one, we're just going to say are better quality. There's a lot more to it than that, but in your higher end interfaces, you are going to get balanced 1/4 inch outputs, and they can go directly to your monitor speakers, like the KRK rockets that I've got behind me here, and that's going to give you the best quality sound coming out of that. So, as I said, the Focusrite Scarlett II, a very good choice if you're not interested in mobile recording, if you're just using a PC or a Mac. And the Scarlett range, it goes from the Solo, the 2i2, the 4i4, the 16i27, I don't know. There's a lot of different Focusrite Scarletts. They're all really good. You really can't go wrong getting any of these. However, the reason that I do not use the Focusrite Scarlett II is that I purchased and fell in love with this, which is the Steinberg UR12. If you've watched any of my videos, you've probably seen this in action already. This is built like a tank. It is really solid, really heavy, pure like aluminium construction. Again, we've got these really nice weighted dials on the front here. We've got the mic. This is the D pre, which is a really clean sounding preamp. If you've listened to my, especially my iOS recordings, the quality that I get through on that preamp is amazing. Thanks, Bus. Is amazing. It really is high quality signal, and you can dial in and you can even push the gain up pretty high and still get a pretty good quality signal. So there's your gain knob there for your mic. You've got your gain knob here for your second input, and the beauty of this thing is that you can actually record those two at the same time. So I've done that in a previous video, which you can check out in the description, but if you want to record both microphone and guitar at the same time, for instance, you can do that with this device. It's got 2 channels ready to go. We've got our output here. Now the output on this one is for both the output at the back here and also the headphone. So there's no independent headphone. So as opposed to the Scarlett II, it doesn't have that separate one, which is a little bit annoying. It doesn't come up too often, but sometimes you might want to turn down the output going to your speakers, but you want to have it going to your headphones. But yeah, you can turn the speakers off in other ways. There's ways around it. We've got a direct monitor button here, so the same as the Scarlett has there. But on the back here, you'll notice a couple of differences. So we do now go back to the RCA. So because this is slightly lower end than the Scarlett, the Focusrite Scarlett, it doesn't have those balanced outputs. So you are trading off that. For all the extra features you get for this, you're trading off the output there. So if you really want high quality monitoring coming out of this, then consider that as well before you jump on this one. But the coolest feature of the Steinberg UR12 is this one here. So this is our power source selector. So you can select between whether you want the power to come from the USB or you've actually got a 5-volt DC connection here. So if you've got a micro USB connection that you can power either directly from a power socket or using a portable battery or via a USB hub, then you can actually power this device, which means it's 100% iOS compatible. So this is the first one that we've had apart from the Tascam that is the Tascam iXzen, which is 100% iOS compatible out of the box, which means that you won't have any trouble using this with your iPad, your iPhone, or any other device that is running iOS 10 or 11. We've got phantom power at the back here too. That's the one other thing I didn't show you. So talking about power, all of these devices so far are USB powered, again, apart from the Tascam, which means that they connect via USB and they're also powered by USB. So that does make them convenient if you're using them with a laptop. You don't need a separate power adapter or a power brick or anything to run with it. And they're all powered by bus power. It can run into trouble if you've got so you've got a computer that's low on power, you're using a lot of USB devices. It means that sometimes you can have issues where it's not sending enough power to your device. A powered USB hub connected to your PC, or in the case of iOS, connected to your iOS device, can help with that. And you can use a lightning to USB adapter, which I've got a whole heap of videos all about that. Just go to the channel, search lightning adapter or lightning to USB, and you'll see a whole host of videos explaining how to do that. Anyway, that's my Steinberg UR12, and that is my current mobile device. So this is what I'm using right now on any of my recordings. On my latest single that I recorded, I used this baby here. And to finish off here, I will show you my latest audio interface, which is my Steinberg UR44. And I did an unboxing video of this a while ago, and I haven't done much with it, so apologies for that. I know there's people that are hanging out wanting to see me record this. This records some really, you can do some good stereo guitar effects, you can record multiple channels, and I'll show you some of that very soon, I promise. What the Steinberg UR44 has is 4 separate inputs, and you can see I'm using one of them right now, so that's how I'm recording my voice. Right now is going through input 1 there. We've got 3 other inputs. They've got those D pre's again, so we've got 4 microphone preamps or 4 line inputs as well. So we can use those in any combination we want, and we've got a pair of line inputs at the back, so you can't really see it from here, but at the back of the device I've got an output that goes from the back over there, and when I'm doing my recording and recording videos, I can put the output from this one, from the Steinberg UR12, I output into the 44, and I can record the stereo output from that of what I'm recording. So that's very cool. We've got the 4 dials here, we've got 48 volt power, we've got 2 headphone sockets here, so 2 independent outputs for headphones, and our master output. And I'm not going to disconnect because I can't disconnect it to show you the back, but the back is all of our outputs. So we have another couple of sets of outputs there, those inputs I talked about, and this is the one device I have that is not USB bus powered. So this is actually powered by its own separate power, because to run 4 or 6 input channels takes too much. And it is compatible with iOS as well, which is very cool. So as I said, I do need to do a video where I plug this back in and record multiple tracks on my iPad, which I'll do soon, but at the moment it's hooked up to my PC so that I can record, and when I do videos where I'm doing commentary as well as a stereo track, it's really handy, because obviously I need more than those 2 inputs that I have on all of these other devices. Now, earlier in the episode, I did give you a bit of a teaser when I was talking about iRigs and said that I didn't own an iRig. Well, I now do, kind of. I own this, which I purchased on eBay for less than $10, and it is an iRig. It is in a little plastic bag. It has some photocopied instruction manual here, and it feels as plasticky as they come. So I am reasonably confident that I have not been sold a genuine iRig device, despite what the description may have said. I have tried it, and it does work. It's not the best quality, but it is an option, I guess. So yes, I do now have an iRig device, sort of, and I will be testing this one, because all this has is a 3.5mm jack there, it has a headphone socket there, and then it has your guitar input there, your 1/4" jack. So you can plug a guitar in, plug a pair of headphones in, put it into your device, and play and monitor and listen. And as I said, it worked, and the quality wasn't bad. There was a bit of bleed that came across, which meant that you could hear other instruments playing back in the tracks that you're recording, which is common even in genuine iRigs as well. So that is a device that I will be looking at in a future video, so stay tuned for that one as well. And that is going to do it. Thank you very much for watching this. Hopefully you learned something about audio interfaces. If you're in the market for an interface, or you're going to buy a new interface, this might have given you some things to think about. So just to summarize, when you're looking for an audio interface, work out what you want to use it for. Do you want to use it for iOS or just on your Mac or PC? Do you want it to be USB powered or have a separate power like the beast over here, the Steinberg UR44? Do you want to be able to do that? How many inputs are you going to realistically need? Is it just you recording? Do you just need 1 input? Do you need 2? Do you need 4? Do you need 6? How many people do you have recording regularly? What do you need in terms of output? Do you need those 1/4" outputs that are the balanced that we talked about? Or are you happy with an RCA or even just a headphone jack in there as well? The quality, 16-bit versus 24-bit, these days look for 24-bit audio. I wouldn't be buying anything that's 16-bit. And we didn't talk about sample rate. So sample rate can be 96 kilohertz all the way up to 192 kilohertz. And look, I still record in 44 or 48 kilohertz. So I don't find that a real big thing, but it's just going to give you better audio quality, but at the same time, much bigger files. So keep that in mind as something else. And then it really just comes down to some of those other features that we talked about, like does it have phantom power? Can you do direct monitoring? How does it feel? How does it look? Is it in line with what you want to do? So think about all those things when you are out there purchasing, and check out the links below. I'll link as many of these as I possibly can that I can find that are still available for purchase. As I said, some belong in a museum, but others are still for sale. So thank you again for watching. If you've got comments, questions, or suggestions, or want to tell me me I'm wrong about something, or give some advice, or help some others out, definitely drop a comment down below, and I will see you on the next video.